Okay, so to make the granny stitch hexagon, normally I'll do a magic circle to work into, but for the sake of this being a bit more beginner friendly, we are going to chain 4 and slip stitch that together as our first loop to work into. So chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to make a slip stitch into that first loop. And we are going to be working around the tail, so we're going to hold the tail very close to the loop as we're working around it. So to start working our granny hexagon, we're going to chain 2 for our first double crochet. That will act as a double crochet, and it is 3 double crochets as one cluster, and each cluster we're going to work into this little circle. So that's the second double crochet. Our chain 2 is acting as our first. So working over the tail. There we go, that's our first. And then for each space we're going to chain 2. Make our second cluster of double crochets, and for the hexagon it is 6 clusters altogether. So it's the second one. Be a bit of a squeeze in this loop, but we'll do it. Chain 2 again for the next space. We'll make our increases. A third cluster of 3 double crochets. Hook. And always pull the work back a bit. And then chain 2 for our next space, and then we're going to do another cluster of 3 double crochets into that little hoop. 1, 2, and 3. Oh. How many we've got so far? 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we were making a granny square, that would be perfect, but we need 2 more for our hexagon. So chain 2, 1, 2, and 3. So 5th cluster, and now we're going to chain 2 again. Pull it back a little bit just for our last. And then into this little hoop. It might be a bit of a squeeze now, but this is our last one. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, that's our last one there. And then we're going to chain 2 and slip stitch to the start of that first double crochet, or what it was is a chain 2, but we use it as a double crochet. So just go 1, 2, and 3, and we're just going to the top of that one, through the loops, and make a slip stitch. And with the back where we crocheted over the tail, you can always pull that tight to close it up a bit more. And because we've crocheted it over that tail, you can always snip that off, as it's technically sewn in already. Okay, so for our next row, I'm going to chain 2, and that chain 2 is going to act as the first double crochet for that cluster in this corner. So we're going to pretend that's not there for now. We're going to start straight into this corner here. So we're going to do a double crochet straight into this corner, and we're going to do 3 of them. 1, 2, 3, And now for this increase, it needs to be 2 clusters of 3 double crochets with a chain 2 to make the space. So 1, 2, and then back in that space with 3 double crochets for our second cluster. Now we only do the chain 2s in between our 2 clusters of double crochets in these spaces. So where the big spaces are here, where we've done our chain 2s, they're the only time we're going to work these clusters with the chain 2. So we don't need to chain 2 here at all. We just go straight in to the next space because we're not working into anything here. We're just going straight in to the next space with a double crochet. So just 1 double crochet there. Because this is an increase corner, we do our 3 double crochets and then a chain 2 for an increase, and then another 3 double crochets because we need 2 clusters of 3 double crochets in each corner. Okay, so that's 2 corners done. And you'll see there, that was where we didn't do any increases. That was just straight into there, because these are the corners, so we just go straight in the middle. So working straight into another corner here, so no chains, just straight in with a double crochet. Apologies if you can hear a lawnmower outside. I've got a neighbour cutting her grass. So we do our chain 3, and then we're going to chain 3 3 double crochets, and then chain 2. How many have I done? 1, 2 for our increase, and then our second cluster of 3 double crochets in that space. 1, 2, and 3. And then again, no increases here, just straight into the next space. So straight in with a double crochet. And another 2 to make that cluster of 3. So we're still working in an increased space. So chain 2 and do your second cluster of 3 double crochet. Okay, now we're working into another space of straight in with a double crochet. 2 more to make your cluster. And again, because this is an increased space, we do a chain 2 and our second cluster of 3 double crochets. Checking where I was then. Okay, and now into this space here. So the very last space is where we first, just turn it this way. So this is the space, and that's where we done our chain 2. So that chain 2 there that we first started with on that row, or second row, is going to act as our double crochet for our last cluster. So for our last cluster, we'll just do 2 double crochets and then use that chain 2 to join. You'll see what I mean in a second. So straight into that last increase space with 3 double crochets, because it's 2 clusters, so this will be our first cluster. Now our chain 2, and now because we've got that chain 2 there, that we first started with, we're just going to do 2 double crochets. And then we're going to slip stitch into the top of our first double crochet on that row. Slip stitch them together, and you'll see that made the 3 double crochets there. So yes, that's your hexagon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 corners. And just to keep adding rows onto there, you just chain 2 and just do exactly what you've done in that row beneath. Just start it off quickly. So you just would chain 2, and again that would be the last double crochet of the whole round, like we just done there. So we're going to forget that, just chain 2, forget it, and then just pretend we're starting from there. So we just go into that first corner with a double crochet, and then we would just do our first cluster, an increase of 2, and then your second cluster of 3 double crochets. Just quickly do this. Dragging my yarn here with me. 3. Sorry about that. Slow down a bit. Anyway, so that would be your hexagon, and then you do your chain 2, which would be the start of that cluster at the very end, and work straight into the next increase. And then because this isn't an increase space, there's no chain 2 there because that's not a corner. The chain 2 are only in the corners, so just keep counting your corners: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and anything in between you just go straight in with a double crochet. So no chains, no more increases in the middle, so you only do your increases in your corners. So as long as you've got 6 corners, anything else in between those 6 corners, there's no increases, no chains, just straight in the middle, straight into the stitch below. So because this will be an increase, because this is our second corner, then you need to do your 2 clusters of 3 double crochets and your chain 2 as another increase for your next row. So that was the top, wasn't it? So it was chain 2. So that would be your next corner. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's how you make a hexagon.